Hello, and welcome to another discussion of Lollie After Tech. I'm your host, Lollie Marcelin. On our last episode, we discussed what is Tech Munchausen Syndrome, how to recognize it within your organization, and what are the key signs to look for during the interview process. How do you protect your mental health while dealing with that bullshit? Today, we're going to discuss what is Tech Stockholm Syndrome. What are the top 5 characteristics to recognize? How to recognize them before taking the job during the interview process, and how to deal with it if you are already tech deep into the situation. So let's begin. What is Tech Stockholm Syndrome? This is an unfortunate psychological response that occurs when a tech employee develops positive feelings, loyalty, or even affection for the tech company that continually abuses them, in which a bond is formed between the tech employee and the abusive tech company and will most likely involve sympathy on behalf of the employee towards the abusive tech company. Let's keep in mind that defense is really a coping mechanism where employees will often rationalize the abuse or workforce captivity as a means of survival, normally around their pay periods. You yourself have most definitely seen this in very senior employees, and at times in employees who have worked within an organization for 2 years or less, but a large portion of the time, unfortunately. So you normally can't stand working with these types of employees because they seem like the bootlickers and ass kissers of the organization. They are normally angry and bitter or downright spineless colleagues. So our hope is that what we impart today may help you accept their dysfunction and even possibly help them with an intervention or two. Let's dive right into the first symptom: positive feelings towards the abuser. The example we would use is the network administrator. One of your network administrators has been working overtime, both on site and remotely. This has been going on for 5 days straight due to their supervisor, who not only micromanages but excessively controls their work environment and uses that employee, the network administrator, as the supervisor's personal secretary and personal project-driven giver, as a direct a direct misuse of resources. The NA is fully aware of this and honestly heard about the treatment of previous NAs that were in their role with this same supervisor. But instead of providing honest feedback during the quarterly review and in weekly company meetings when called on for their quote unquote honest opinion, they say that others in that role should be grateful as their supervisor is the greatest manager ever and volunteers for a bigger workload even though they are already on antidepressants and normally tries to take as many unlimited PTO days as they can steal. At first, you get the booty liquor vibes. But friends, fellow techies, they're experiencing Tech Stockholm Syndrome and refused to get diagnosed. Again, this is what we're here for. For this type of employee, you have to add more work to their already ridiculous role. Now, I know what you're thinking. I know that sounds crazy, but if you hear me out, you're going to see the logic behind this. You're going to benefit from this, I assure you. Since they have already been tech beat down, trying to talk to them, common sense will get you nowhere. If anything, it'll get you more aggravated and possibly cause you to start experiencing tech postal syndrome, which is what we'll discuss in the next episode. At this point in time, that's not your concern to be getting aggravated. Remember, we're to alleviate stress, not add more stress onto our plate. Our goal is to observe, assess, decide if we want to make a move or pull all the way the fuck back. The reason why you want to put more work on their plate from an employee versus a supervisor, this will push them to the brink and have them reported to such said abusing and lazy as fuck supervisor, who will then in turn will take one of two routes. Both you don't know yet will benefit you. The first route, which is kind of should be obvious, is to have that supervisor discuss it with you, who that supervisor already knows you have the I wish a supervisor would attitude, in which you innocently say, well, I thought that this is what you wanted, since he's the top network administrator and he's doing your work and I'm seeing how you've benefited and improved. I assumed that's what you wanted me to do. I'm looking up to your example. And so this is how I could move up and this is how I can learn. Now, you and I both know, tech friends, that your supervisor is going to be peeved, annoyed, to say the least. But they know they're caught red-handed, and they're caught red-handed with the I wish a supervisor would employ. So they tread lightly here. That's one option. But I'm going to say they're really going to take a different route. And that route is this lazy ass supervisor is going to talk to that network administrator, the top dog, who is overwhelmed and takes your statement of giving them more work and why you're giving them more work to push that network administrator harder, which in turns to force that network administrator to take FMLA. Because you and I both know they ain't going to HR. Because if they were going to HR, they would have been there a long time ago. Ding ding. Either way, you get what you want. Less work and a different work environment. As the supervisor who is causing the syndrome knows good and goddamn well, if that employee leaves permanently or takes a leave of absence like FMLA, that will force this lazy ass supervisor to have more work to do or get exposed because the rest of the team who think like you, or a new millennial employee who thinks like themselves but still has the same attitude as you, which is who in the hell is having any of that bullshit you've been pushing on the goofy network administrator who's suffering from tech Stockholm Syndrome. See how that works? Brilliant, I know. I didn't think about it at first, but then I put some time to it and I said, ding, ding, that's what it is. Let's move on. Symptom number 2, internalizing the abuser's perspective. In this example, we're going to take the data scientist. The tenured data scientist within your organization who has put together numerous algorithms to justify the new AI platform is at their wits' end. Keep in mind, AI platform, buzzword. Now, the data hasn't been cleaned since this company started 20 years ago and has had 4 companies merge with them. How do you say data dump? In any case, the tenured DS has tried everything to get leadership to support and address data integrity moving forward. Of course, they are constantly ignored and constantly tasked with developing new algorithms as continuous new projects emerge and become priority over data integrity. But your department, who clearly understands that algorithms contain technical language that others within the organization who really have no goddamn need to understand it has to be cleaned for data integrity to exist. And your department is focused on doing just that, but not leadership. Not the leadership team. The leadership team and others within the organization, like marketing, complain that the discussion of algorithms are complicated and this should be dumbed down for everyone to understand. That's the priority. You, who have a PhD and you got me fucked up, why the hell would I do that? As the goal of the data analyst is to extract valuable, actionable insights from data to support data-driven making decisions within an organization And this don't seem to be one of them. And so, of course, as a priority, you refuse that stupid, goofy ass suggestion and go back to what's more important, which, of course, we all know is data integrity. But not your lead data scientist, not your handy dandy colleague who has developed tech Stockholm Syndrome. His opinion, her opinion, their opinion, quite different than your opinion. They have resigned to splitting their 60-hour work week into 80 hours so they can work on creating algorithm for dummies. You, of course, who is sane in mind, know that when you have any meeting with others where the dummy approach will be presented, can already see this is going to be a shit show. I do not understand. Can you please repeat that for the next hour? Your data scientist, the lead guy who's getting dumped on, also knows this because they have done this 4 times prior, trying to address the excuses from leadership that data scientists need to make an effort to bridge the communication gap and educate business stakeholders on how data science works with dirty data. Not to mention, this data scientist has been disrespected by leadership with the where does your priorities lie every fucking week, and why is the integrity of the data in question when they've come to leadership 20 times about the data's not clean. What are we going to do about that? Can we not stop merging systems? Okay, they've been there, they've done that, not listening. In which the data scientists, what do? They take it for the team. They suck it up and they go into the meeting with smiles and Vaseline on their face, ready for the constant punching bag they're going to receive for an hour. Now, keep in mind, the data scientist has done this a few times a quarter. They have also been rigorous with your team because you're all in the same department trying to clean the data while new unclean data keeps getting dumped and the rest of the smart team members who are not suffering from tech Stockholm Syndrome are taking PTO and wishing this guy or girl the fucking best, is saying if you're going to keep dumping data in the system, I'm going to keep taking days off. You guys going to keep figuring that shit out, and I'm going to be on vacay for as long as I can. When the yearly bonus is announced, guess who's left out? The lead data scientist who's suffering from tech Stockholm Syndrome. As leaders respond to their hard work with, what work did they really do? I mean, no bonus for you. And instead of addressing it, the data scientists, they say, may I have some more dirty data, please? This goes without saying, but their abuse meter has no bounds. Your best bet is to support them. Keep egging them on. Keep saying go after it. You're a great person. Don't let them break you down because anything else is futile. They will not listen to you. They've already been beaten down, tech dropped on their head of abuse. And so to them, taking more dirty data makes them seem like a superstar when all it does is make them look like a tech flunky. We'll now move on to example number 3, negative perceptions of the outside tech world. And the example we're going to provide is the IT support specialist new hire. There is a new hire, IT support specialist in your department. You briefly met them during the interview cycle with the smoke and mirror, meet the team, walk the floor, which is really the code for nobody better not show red flags or your goddamn job is next. Now, although you notice that the new pre-hire seemed somewhat apprehensive and had the air of deja vu on their face as they walked the entire IT support room that fits 20, but only 4 cubicles were full, they seemed enthusiastic and eager. This person was hired along with 6 other Tier 1 IT help desk support team members, or for the lack of a better term, the new graduates. Now you flash forward 6 months and you notice the new IT team member who used to be jovial is moody, tired, and frankly, quite annoyed as they accidentally found out that the new grads, 6 of them, who've had no experience, this guy has 6 years, is paid $10 more an hour, does less work than he does, They show up late, he's always on time, and to add insult to injury, acts like they own the IT room. I mean, basically, they're stunning in IT. You catch this team member in the break room doing what you do, finding out more information. You begin to ask a subtle question. Hey, things seem different. Are you all right? Yeah. And they begin to tell you that they found out they are getting paid less but have more experience. And this is the fifth role they have had in which this was the case. We're talking the fifth role, 4 years. And they got the sense they were going to be mistreated during the interview process when they walked the floor and saw so many empty cubicles. And so they say, but I thought this would be different. I mean, maybe if I worked harder here, it would be different. You say, didn't you work harder at the other places? They say yes. You say, I mean, well, what else would have made it different? Maybe getting fired would do the trick. Getting fired abruptly in IT when you have a family to support, children in private school, mortgages to pay, probably just bought a new car. Well, that always seems to wake a bitch up. Have you noticed that? Not the organization. So let me take you back when they say that they noticed this during the interview process. I mean, let's go peep it out. You walked an IT room that was supposed to be fully staffed. You saw 20 desks and not even a fraction of that filled, 6 seats filled, and nothing gave that away. You waited to find out by accident that you were being paid $10 less than the new graduates, but you have 4 years of experience in your role. Still, you felt maybe it's you, not the company. In these very sad and quite pitiful situations, your best advice is to tell them to get fired. Now, hear me out. Maybe them quitting again wasn't enough because the quitting gave them power to just leave. They haven't hurt enough in this situation. Maybe getting fired does the trick. And maybe this IT help desk support person who is struggling with tech Stockholm Syndrome hasn't been able to hit that level of low and pain yet. And this is the juice that they need that lights the fire for them to do something about the bullshit they keep putting themselves in like a revolving door. Now, I know you're saying, but is that actually help? I'm telling you, it's an absolute intervention. You don't think you're helping them, but I assure you, you tell them stop doing work. Remember, getting fired, as long as you're not stealing from the company and all this other bullshit. But if your work performance isn't good, that requires you to get paid by your state, at least as of today, because who's the hell to know what happened with this regime. But as of today, if you were to get fired in tech and you did no misconduct, they have to cut you a check. But you know the beauty of this and why you're giving them this type of intervention, because apparently over the 4 years they've had 5 jobs to include this one that they're at your job. They have not had enough time to think about what else they can do with the great skill sets they acquired in IT, because you know IT across the board requires critical thinking, and critical thinking skills can be put anywhere throughout any industry. So with that being said, making that comment to them will make them think. They will assess their less than paid check from the other graduates. They will look at their workload. They will look at their history and they'll say, why not? Gotta try something new. I know you never thought about it. I get it. I'm here to help you. Help them. Help you. Because if they get fired and they leave, then some of that stupid personality trait of tech syndrome disease gets pushed out of the organization so other people don't catch it like the plague. Now, let me add some context to this because you can't just blur it out, just get fired. Like, it can't work like that. You have to smooth it in. And I found one of the best approaches to this is, have you ever looked outside tech for a position? Because this person who has tech Stockholm Syndrome will say, but tech is my career. It's my life. I went to college. I've invested all this time into it. What else would I do? Where would I go? How are my skills transferable? And then you say to them, well, let me ask you a question. For what you make and come to work every day, and now that you know that there are colleagues who haven't done a third or a fraction of the work or acquired the 4 years of industry expertise that you have, and they're making more money, does that make you feel upset? Now, the tech Stockholm person who's suffering from this type of disease, they will say, I mean, I kind of get it. It is the industry, and this is how you know they're sick. This is how you know they're sick. And so you have to drive the nail through the heart and say, well, if you don't get fired, you're not going to get more money. You're still going to get abused. These people won't even have 2 years on you, and they're still going to make more money than you by next year. And all you're going to do is take the same job title, apply to another company, look at the same range, because that's what they do, especially if you're in the same vertical. And then they're going to give you the same money you left off with to find yourself being paid less than somebody else who either had a visa, a LinkedIn connection, or something, and got into that role, which you didn't, and now you're back at square one. Now you're not on job 5, you're on job 6. But if you get fired, my friend, it forces you to think, forces you to have time on your hands to make more strategic moves. Doesn't that sound better? And then you immediately get up from the lunch table or the water cooler, wherever the hell you had the conversation, and you get the hell away from them and you let them process. Make no mistake, within 2 weeks, they've stopped doing work. They probably don't show up, but they call in because they have PTO. You know, the tech industry requires, to some degree, unlimited because it's just ridiculous and everyone is having a nervous breakdown. But in any case, you do that, and this person will take heed. And you did an intervention, my friend. You did a good job that day. Don't let anyone tell you different. That was an attaboy on the low. We will now move on to example number 4, negative IT team image. The example we're going to provide is the DevOps engineers. Over the past year, you noticed that 7 out of the 10 DevOps engineers are straight up and down assholes. They have been in a revolving door of trying to advance, streamline, and of course automate the organization's system infrastructure in order to meet the newly mandated and frequent software releases. They are never provided enough time to meet any of the KPIs laid out for them. They remain heavily understaffed, as the weekly team call out rate might as well be a standard 3-day work week per team member. You cannot ask these team members anything as it relates to updates, system reliability, or new seamless integrations, not to mention the taboo term delivery code. They have completely immersed themselves and accepted the negative self-team image. Nonetheless, these unenthusiastic colleagues are the first to jump at creating and suggesting new monitoring and tracking application performance systems, guidelines for automating testing strategies, you name it. They are the let's get them done, while bitching, complaining, yelling, and downright being contentious with every other employee outside of their department, but refuse to resign, transfer, find another job, or simply shut the fuck up. This is when Tech Stockholm Syndrome has taken over the entire department like the blob, and the only reason the other 3 team members have not been engulfed in this attitude is because they are retiring. Now, I gotta be frank, there's no cure for this. This is really just an observation. But should you go on an interview for a DevOps role, because normally they have you do bullshit panel interviews, doing some bullshit, do a trial, testing goofy shit, and you notice that on these team members' faces, there's smirks, there's arms crossed, they're slumped back, they're talking side shit, the eye language is talking louder than the mouth language. You, my friend, are about to jump into the team de creme of the tech Stockholm environment that's intoxicated with this type of attitude, and it would be in your best interest to decline the job offer. Now, don't listen to me. If you need the job, I get it. But I suggest you think heavily, because the term that you'll be there won't be long based on this environment. We will finally move on to our final example: difficulty recalling details of the trauma. Example number 5, and what we're going to use is the wannabe CIO. The last symptoms always pull at my heartstrings every and any time I see this symptom in a tech employee. I just pray for them. I mean, you have a career colleague of yours at the organization, and colleague has been with the company as a staple for, let's say, 10 to 15 years. They started in help desk right out of college. After a few years, moved into a team lead, then supervisor, and after a few more years, moved into the IT director role. Now they have their sights on CIO, CTO. I mean, that's kind of where they at, depending on the scale of your organization. And they have been trained and have trained everyone in this organization who have come through your tech company's doors in IT roles. They are normally highly liked as a person, but treated like a lapdog by leadership. This is the staffer who has been cut 3 times once they make certain income level, but then is hired back at less pay, but more responsibility. As leadership says, they can handle more responsibility. They know the company inside and out. So they're going to be raped and pillaged throughout the rest of their career within this organization. I hope that's the key word you guys caught on to that. Thus, one of the major reasons it took them 15 years just to get to the IT director role. Nonetheless, they are a trooper and roll with the goofy ass, uncertain, consistent inconsistency environment created by the organization. Lo and behold, a new leadership team has come in, ready, eager, and excited, and a new role for CIO, which is what this key employee who he should be called by, or she should be called by, a key employee, but is really being considered a flunky, that they are hoping will lead them to finally making it to the coveted CIO role that they want. They know that every time in the past they have tried to move up the ladder, they are unfortunately part of the chopping block, but brought back at the same or lesser role with less pay has been the pattern, but they still see the glass half full, so they jump in and apply. All credentials are met. Everyone loves them, but of course, they are once again overlooked. And a new CIO is brought in who worked for Puppies R Us and who believes that they are the best fit for the entire organization. And this IT director who has dedicated their life to your organization, they feel fortunate that they were not let go, but are now even more lucky to be offered the opportunity to train the new CIO who has no previous industry experience, but who may more than likely, in the end, feel threatened by this long-term staffer due to their advanced industry and organizational knowledge, which will more than likely outshine this new CIO sooner or later. This special IT employee with tech Stockholm Syndrome miraculously continually forgets the past treatment every time they try to move up. It's as if they black out every time a promotion option is available and a new memory of it never happened to me before shows up. This is the employee you befriend, as not for nothing, they know enough about the industry, enough about the people in the industry. I mean, this is the employee that probably has 3,000 LinkedIn connections. So the changes in the organization they're familiar with, the people in the industry they're familiar with, their connections are familiar with, the technology they're familiar with. And so the fact that they have this much structure will help you either get ahead inside of the organization, or you'll be able to leverage their intel about the organization to get a job with their competitors and advance your career. These tech Stockholm victims are a lost cause. There is no suggesting anything to them. And I'm going to tell you why. If you say anything negative about the company in front of this tech Stockholm victim, what will take place is, since everything they've done in the past to try to level up has not worked, leveraging their own connections, leveraging industry knowledge, leveraging the knowledge about organization itself and all the changes and people that have been through it, the only other leverage they will possibly be able to think of, because again, they're mentally sick, is to use you for leverage. And how do they do that? You say something negative about the company, they go back to a colleague who has enough power to get them a leg up, showing that they're loyal to the company. They're a loyalist to the tech organization. They will die hard for them while you get walked out the front door with a less than a 2 week severance package. You say nothing to these employees. You let them befriend you, go to lunch with them, go to dinner, go to the after hour spots. When you take business trips, make sure you cool with them. Like, do all of that, but keep your mouth closed. This is the employee that you skin and grin with. Because anything more than a conversation, and you will find yourself unemployed because they're so busy trying to get up the ladder that at this point everything else is out the window. It's all in or nothing. We have now come to the end of this episode. If you like the content and would like to hear more sarcastic and downright ridiculous tech industry commentary, subscribe at your leisure. You can find us on Lollie After Tech on YouTube, lbacquired.com, podcasts across the board. We're on 50 different channels. On our next episode, we will discuss tech postal syndrome. Until next time.
Just drift away, lay down the vibe and soothe my woes. I long to lose myself in lo-fi beats. Just drift away, lay down the vibe and soothe my woes.